Dig it. Here he comes. Here he comes.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of So In Outdoors. We're here in the office working on some tackle, getting some things ready. I wanted to talk to you guys today about one of the most effective wintertime baits that you can have tied on that will work in multiple situations on multiple different types of structure. Recently I was at Dale Hollow Lake and we were down there fishing for some smallmouth, and this particular bait works really great when the fish are tight to the bottom, when they're not suspended. And this was kind of a pre-front situation, so a lot of these fish were really tight to the bottom and fairly deep. I think a lot of the fish that we were seeing were anywhere from 18 to 25 foot deep. But this bait here can be used to really cover water effectively. You can fish it fast, you can fish it slow, depending upon the time of the year. This time of year, basically, we throw it out there, and instead of fishing it more like you would a traditional Texas rig, sweeping the rod, you basically almost fish it like a crankbait, but keeping it on the bottom, just slow reeling it back to the boat. And that is a swing head. Biffle head, hard head, knuckle head, whatever you want to call it. And you can tell this one here's been through the ringer. But this is just a swing head. This is got a 4/0 wide gap hook on the back, 3/4 ounce. And you can put all kinds of different trailers on the back of this. Typically, when they're feeding on crayfish, crawdads, I'm going to go with a crawfish type trailer when I'm fishing on the bottom this time of year. So what I will put is like a Zoom Z crawl on the back of that, or a Yum spine crawl, something that doesn't have a ton of action. In that cold water, you don't need a lot of action. But this bait basically slow reeled on the bottom, just kind of deflects off the cover, and then that hook will swing back and forth, pendulum on that head, which is what gives that bait just that very unique kind of crawling action on the bottom. Now, the key to this bait too, and like all baits, is knowing where to throw it and the situation. So you kind of have to read the day, kind of figure out the areas, and most importantly, you have to find that the fish are indeed on the bottom or relating close to the bottom. So what I'm typically looking for is places where there's a pocket that is kind of flattens out in the back, and I'm actually making a cast a lot of times in the gut or in the cut of the pocket, so right down the middle, looking for pockets where the contour lines start to space out a little bit and they start to get a little flatter, but I want deep water close by. Much like this here, this is a picture from Dale Hollow Lake, and the channel comes in right in the mouth of this pocket. And with this splitting, I have two forks in here that I can fish, and I'm going to get out in the middle and make a long cast towards the back and slowly work it out towards the deeper water. Once you find that target zone where the fish are at or depth that they're relating to, you can narrow it down and focus on those depth ranges. If you haven't ever thrown one, you can do the same thing with a bigger shaky head, but the swing head just allows that free movement of that bait to just give it a much more natural presentation, where it looks like that crawfish is down on the bottom, just slowly walking through the rocks or gravel or whatever you're throwing it on. Traditionally, I'm not going to throw this in real heavy, rocky type bottoms. I want more of at Dale Hollow you have a lot of shale. I want more of a shale, gravel type bottom to fish this in. Not really want it to be muddy, and you don't really want a lot of big chunk rock, or you will stay hung up with this booger here. I prefer it more over, say a crankbait or a plug that goes down a little deeper, just because you can't fish those baits slow enough sometimes. And a lot of times, a Texas rig, it's not going to float up off the bottom, whereas this swing head, that plastic will kind of float that bait up off the bottom a little bit. In a Texas rig, you're kind of rise and fall, whereas this here kind of maintains contact. And you can learn a lot by throwing it of what the bottom composition is. If it starts feeling a little different, or you don't feel as much of that bottom, a lot of times then you're in kind of a muddy area. And I try to stay away from those. Those fish are going to set up on that harder bottom structure versus the muddy bottom. Bait is the other key. You need to find the areas that have a lot of bait in those pockets. Just off the main river is what I typically focus on. Doesn't have to be the main river channel, but if you've got a steeper break, deeper water nearby that leads into that flatter pocket, that's what I'm going to focus on. In this picture here, you can see the river channel comes up, hits the mouth of this pocket. I also want pockets to have a lot of fingers, because not only can I fish all those cuts, I can fish all those points that lead into those cuts, and a lot of times those fish will stage on those as well. The bite can be real finicky. A lot of times it just feels heavy. It took me a little while to kind of figure that out. I missed a few fish because I just didn't realize that I was actually getting a bite.
Here he comes. Here he comes. Yeah. Looky.
It's a giant.
There.
Giant.
See that? Big old brown beast right there. We have absolutely struggled today. It has been struggle city. Seeing the fish on the graph in freaking deep 30 foot of water, and I picked up the old knucklehead and just started dragging real slow, seeing them on the bottom. Literally seeing this fish on the graph, good 4.5 pound fish.
That I was actually getting a bite. So Lost River Lures makes these swing heads, guys. Check them out. You could check them out, Lost River Lures, on Facebook, and make sure that you use the promo code SIO10. That's Southern Indiana Outdoors, SIO10, and that will get you a cool 10% off of all of your tackle purchases. But make sure you hit them up, guys, and stock up on these bad boys, because they are very effective from fall all the way through spring and into summer. But in the wintertime is when I really, really like this little dude here. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Hopefully the weather will get right and we'll be back on the water soon.